Hey everyone, thank you for tuning into this week's presentation. For week 5 of our spring quarter presentation series, we'll be doing a deep dive into marketing. Our presenters this week are the members of the Marketing Committee Board. I'm Jessica and I'll be discussing a general industry overview. Jenna will be going over recruitment components and tips. Kaz will be covering pros and cons as well as resources, and John will be covering example marketing careers. Here's our outline for what we'll be going over today. This deck will also be sent out to you if you've opted in through BWIB, and if not, we'll have an email at the end that you can contact if you'd like to request the presentation files. First, we'll be covering a general introduction to marketing. So at a very high level, marketing involves gaining consumer attention and interest in order to promote and sell a product or service. Because of the importance of the customer when it comes to marketing, it's especially crucial for marketing professionals to stay current with constantly evolving consumer preferences and industry trends. The marketing mix is often used to refer to the range of factors that should be considered when marketing a product or service, and a widely used framework for the marketing mix is called the 4 Ps of marketing, which are product, price, place, and promotion. So here we have a breakdown of the 4 Ps in more detail. For product, it's important to consider the unique selling proposition of the product. So that's what sets it apart from what else is in the market, and how can it satisfy consumers' needs and wants. It's also important to consider the product within the context of its stage in the product life cycle, so a newly introduced product will be marketed differently from one in the maturity stage. Additionally, the branding of the product as well as the overall company factors into how consumers will perceive the product relative to alternatives, and packaging can be used to keep this image and perception consistent. For pricing, base costs and expenses must be taken into account when determining the minimum price that can produce a profit. Perceived value also influences how high a profit margin can reasonably be set and relates back to how the overall brand image operates. Competition is another large consideration and directly relates to how a brand is perceived compared to others. Lastly, product variations and discounts can lead to different price points being set, as we'll explore in an example on the next slide. Place is the category relating to channels of distribution or how the product will be made available to consumers. This can refer to physical and digital options, as well as geographic options such as whether to focus on urban areas or college towns. Above all, there is an emphasis on convenience and accessibility for the relevant target market. Choosing widespread or exclusive distribution also relates back to how the product is perceived. If it's a luxury product, for example, it's more likely to use exclusive distribution. Promotion involves getting the message out about the product. There are a variety of physical and digital options to communicate the message, including print ads, TV, radio, billboards, and ads on YouTube or social media sites. Brand and product perception is again a factor that ties in here, as the message must be consistent with overall branding and positioning relative to competitors. To illustrate the 4 Ps, we've chosen the Apple iPhone as our example product. One big thing that sets the iPhone apart is the array of exclusive iOS features, such as iMessage and FaceTime, that aren't available for other smartphones. Since the product is in its maturity stage, Apple needs to consider ways to retain current customers and make sure new features are enough to retain interest. The branding and packaging of iPhones reflects Apple's overall theme of clean and intuitive design. The iPhone is priced higher than its competitors, positioning it as a premium product and relating back to its branding. The price usually peaks at its release and lowers as newer models are released. Additionally, prices can vary between the different models of the iPhone, as well as different options for storage capacity and refurbished iPhones, allowing Apple to have different price points. When it comes to placing, iPhones are made available at both physical stores and online, and sold by Apple as well as third-party retailers like Costco, Best Buy, and Amazon, and networks like Verizon. There is widespread availability for the iPhone rather than exclusive distribution, which is consistent with its appeal to a very wide consumer base. For promotion, iPhone models are typically announced for the first time at Apple's special events in September, which cause a lot of media buzz and kick off promotion for that model. Physical and digital advertising are both used to promote iPhones, with Apple being noted for its innovative commercials and campaigns such as the Shot on iPhone series. Throughout all of these promotions, marketing materials remain consistent with the design and tone of Apple's image as an overall brand. For our next topic, we wanted to provide a general summary of major differences between marketing roles on the client side and marketing roles on the agency side. The foundational difference is that on the client side, you'll be working on projects for your specific brand, while on the agency side, you'll be working on projects for various clients, sometimes multiple clients at once. The workload on the client side tends to be more consistent than on the agency side. Similarly, for client-side roles, your hours might be closer to a 9-to-5 schedule, and you'll generally travel less for work, whereas agency-side roles tend to work longer hours and may travel more depending on the nature of their projects and where their clients are located. Pay tends to be higher on the client side than on the agency side. In general, career progression is more structured and may be slower for the client side since there is lower turnover, whereas agency roles offer more opportunities for faster paced advancement. And for the last part of our introduction, we compiled some of the major categories within marketing to give you a sense of what types of roles are out there. Marketing is a really broad field, so these categories aren't exhaustive and often have overlap, but thinking about some of the subgroups may help you narrow down your interests. On the client side, brand marketing and PR roles focus on upholding the image and consumer perception of the brand, which we saw ties in heavily with all 4 aspects of the marketing mix. Product marketing involves owning the marketing for a specific product through its development and life cycle, and it's one of the major product-focused roles within the tech industry. Digital marketing takes many forms, including social media marketing, email marketing, and search engine optimization, which focuses on gaining priority in search results in order to drive traffic to the brand's website. Market research and consumer insights divisions conduct and analyze qualitative and quantitative research to understand market trends and preferences. On the agency side, we've listed some of the common categories as well. Advertising agencies are known to follow the structure, and marketing agencies often do too, although specialized agencies may be a bit different. Account roles focus on the client, making sure that the client's needs are being communicated to the rest of the team, and working with the client to determine objectives and steps forward. Strategic roles often involve interpreting insights from market research and industry knowledge in order to provide actionable recommendations for the client. Creative roles design the content of marketing materials in accordance with the client's goals and overall brand, and related specialties can involve anything from the visual aspect through roles like graphic design to the text for the marketing materials through the role of copywriting. Media roles determine which channels are best for the marketing campaign, such as through a TV spot, a series of billboards, or an influencer partnership, and then organize the necessary agreements.
I'm just going to be talking about some example marketing careers that apply to the field. Marketing is a very broad career path, and many organizations and industries engage in marketing efforts because it can apply to almost any field or industry, from music and entertainment to technology to healthcare. Marketing positions have a higher than average job growth because companies have ongoing needs for marketing experts who can develop sales and advertising strategies and generate new ideas to promote products and services. Marketing is always evolving as an industry due to technology, and I'm just going to be talking about 3 example marketing careers in both traditional and newer industries. So the first example career I'm going to be talking about is social media marketing. So social media marketing is growing rapidly as a field as social media applications are becoming more popular among the masses, and companies have adapted to create a social media presence to target a new demographic and focus their efforts on online advertising through apps like Facebook and Instagram. A career in social media marketing would involve interactions between marketing, customer service, sales, and branding committees to develop and implement a consistent and effective social media strategy. So many careers in this field involve working with other branches to strategize on how to best reach the target audience. And a career in this field would also involve analyzing social trends, building brand awareness and loyalty, and creating engaging social content. And this could even involve graphic design or like video creation. And finally, social media marketing involves managing a brand's social media pages, profiles, and websites, and communicating on the brand's social media accounts and updating an organization's online presence. So a career in this field involves great communication skills and a strong understanding of social media and how to target a specific audience. And examples that could fall under the branch of social media marketing are a social media director, a content strategist, a digital marketing strategist, an online community manager, and an internet marketing specialist. So the next branch of the next example career I'm going to be talking about is in advertising. So there are two distinct aspects to advertising, which are the creative aspect and the accounts aspect. So the creative aspect of advertising could involve writing advertisements and promotional materials for a company's marketing campaign, which involves developing creative slogans and ads. And obviously, it requires a lot of creativity to facilitate visual communication around a brand message or product. So this could involve graphic design, photography, designing logos, product packaging, print materials, and just overall applying creativity to marketing. And some important applications that could be used for the creative aspect of advertising are Photoshop, Adobe Illustrator, and Adobe InDesign. And examples of careers that fall under the creative aspect of advertising are an art director, production director, web designer, and copywriter, and these would all be in the creative part of an advertising agency. And so the second aspect of an advertising career is the accounts, which brings together the client and the creative department. So an important part of being in the accounts is planning and implementing advertising programs while maintaining a unified brand message. So this involves mapping out advertising strategies and timelines and communicating with internal and external partners to develop effective marketing campaigns within critical markets. The accounts aspect also involves preparing advertising budgets and managing an account and maintaining client relationships by ensuring timely deliverables. So the skills required to be in this aspect of advertising are organizational skills, communication skills, and also financial skills. And examples of careers that could fall under this category are an account planner, an account executive, an account coordinator, and account manager. And finally, the last example marketing career I'm going to be talking about is market research. So firstly, there are two different types of research that fall under the branch of market research. So the first one is primary research, which is first-hand information on the market and consumers through focus groups, online surveys, and phone interviews. And the second aspect is secondary research, which is all the data and public records you have at disposal to draw conclusions from. So this could include trend reports, market statistics, industry content, and sales data. And this is useful for analyzing an agency's competitors. So market research involves interpreting information from department reports about current and past research into consumer behavior, and it requires an understanding of established consumer behavioral theories and a knowledge of consumer emotions, objectives, and mindset. And a market research analyst also needs knowledge of trends in the marketing field and database query and analysis. So they gather information about consumer personas and target audience to determine how viable and successful the product or service could be. They maximize consumer acquisition and retention and explore data analysis to further the departmental understanding of consumer experiences by using various techniques and methods. And overall, they could present their recommendation to the marketing department based on their analysis. So skills that are required to be a marketing research analyst are research and analytical skills. And some example careers that fall under this branch are the market research analyst, a market consultant.
All right, so now that we've gone over what a career in marketing can look like, I'm going to talk about some pros and cons. So I'm going to start off by talking about the pros of marketing. As we've already mentioned, marketing is a very broad field, so your job could require a diverse skill set. And this can be a pro because this means that you constantly have the opportunity to be learning new things and skills. And if you're someone who likes to be constantly challenged and always learning new things, then this would be a great career for you. Kind of going along with that first point, Marketing also has a wide variety of interests that recruit for these positions. So you can really find a job in a field that you're interested in. For example, as we mentioned earlier, there are marketing positions in tech, healthcare, consumer services, energy, fashion, music, just to name a few. Additionally, hours are normally shorter when compared to careers in finance, consulting, and other business positions. So that means that there's more flexibility in your schedule. Of course, this isn't always the case, but in general, you'll find that it is. And lastly, the last pro I have here is that you often get to see the results of your work. And this means that you can see both quantitative results when you're analyzing data from a campaign, or perhaps qualitative results that come when just looking at the overall project that you are able to complete. And this is something that a lot of people really enjoy, is being able to see the results of their work firsthand. Of course, there are some cons to a career in marketing as well, and I'm going to go over these now. So like I mentioned earlier, marketing is a very broad field, and this could be a positive, but it could also be a negative, because your job could require a diverse skill set that you're not necessarily an expert in. So in marketing, people normally specialize in one area, and we covered a few of those earlier, but sometimes people outside of the marketing field kind of don't really realize that it's so specialized, so they expect you to know a lot of things that are outside of your immediate expertise. So you might be expected to essentially perform a lot of different tasks that you weren't originally hired to do. Necessary skills will also shift over time as new platforms pop up and as we see changes in technology in the industry. So you need to be able to adapt and develop new skills along the way potentially. Another con would be that the pay is generally less when compared to other careers in business. I should note that this mainly applies to when you are at the start of your career, so you can definitely move upwards. And again, this isn't a hard and fast rule, just like the hours. It just seems to be a general trend. Additionally, marketing is competitive and it's a fast-paced field. You have to be constantly aware and up to date with trends in your industry and in overall marketing strategy, and there might also be tight deadlines that you have to follow for your projects. And this last point, I kind of already touched on earlier, but you may sometimes be expected to complete tasks outside of your domain or knowledge.
And next, we talked about the recruitment timeline for marketing and preparing for an interview. So unlike consulting and finance, most marketing interns are not hired in a large class. Advertising, marketing, and PR firms tend to hire on a need-based cycle. And due to this, the majority of their recruiting normally happens in the spring. It's also important to note that even though many agencies don't have formal internship programs, especially for first and second years, students can still secure opportunities through networking, attending on-campus events, and conducting informational interviews. Lastly, almost all companies have departments dedicated to advertising, marketing, and/or public relations. So don't confine your internship search solely to marketing agencies. And next, before we get into some of the things related to interviewing specifically for these jobs that you're going for, it's important to understand some of the personal traits and technical skills that these marketing recruiters are going to be looking for. So while they're primarily going to be looking for applicants with relevant internship experience, your internship doesn't necessarily need to be within advertising, marketing, or PR. However, it should provide you with skills and experiences that are transferable to the industry. Some of the personal traits that recruiters are going to be looking for are problem-solving skills, creativity, critical thinking, especially communication, since presentation is a key part of marketing, the ability to be both a team player and a leader, time management skills, and of course, flexibility, because the industry is constantly changing. Regarding technical skills, recruiters are going to be looking for applicants that have a solid grasp of analytics, a basic understanding of how to use spreadsheets, and specifically some examples include being able to conduct SEO, keyword planning, and calculating user engagement. And lastly, it's important that applicants understand how to leverage social media channels. And so now, preparing for an interview. In an interview for a marketing-related position, it's critical to have knowledge about how brands are built. Digital experience, analytics, and creativity are all key drivers of business. Entrepreneurial abilities will also undoubtedly help you stand out. Recruiters love applicants that are self-starters. And now, before we dive into some of the questions below, the last key piece of advice is being able to demonstrate strong communication skills. Recruiters will often ask about customer service experience, since that involves a combination of listening, persuasion, and interacting with a wide variety of people. And so we've included a list of example interview questions below. A couple that stand out are being able to talk about a strategic marketing plan that you've developed. So we're going to go over that a little bit later with a series of outlines about how to make a marketing plan and work through an example. And regarding some of these questions, it's also important to understand kind of the ins and outs of the brand, specifically that this company, their branding process, and kind of what your brand is too as an individual and what makes you stand out from other applicants. And overall, while some of these questions may appear quite specific, recruiters ultimately just want to see evidence of developing and executing a plan. If you haven't designed a marketing campaign, speak about a group project or fundraising initiative that you led. You should also be familiar with the touch points of the brand. Did the company's recent ad on Instagram catch your eye? Do you subscribe to their weekly newsletter? You should be able to demonstrate knowledge about how the business acquires and interacts with its customers. And so before we go through our worked example, I'm just going to touch on a couple of the key points of developing a marketing plan. So first and foremost, it's important to focus on the company's mission. Create a concise statement to help attract new customers. It's also important to understand how you're going to track your progress. And these are often referred to in the industry as key performance indicators or KPIs. Also, identify your audience. Who are you speaking to? Understanding this will help you further develop the content and implement a plan, which is the next step. So some of the questions involved here such as what type of content are you creating? Blog posts, newsletters, infographics, things like that. That'll help you understand what type of people you need on your team. Because, for example, with an infographic, you might need someone who has more digital and graphic design skills. How much content will you create? This will determine the size and the efficiency of your team. Are you producing content daily, weekly, monthly, or is this more quarterly or biannually? And the last question in this section is how will you distribute this content? There's obviously social media channels, there's YouTube, or it could be more specifically on your website. Aside from that, it's important to determine your budget. Although using social media platforms like Instagram is often free, when you partner with influencers or other companies, that may come at a cost. And you also may have to hire more staff to help implement your plan. Another key piece in developing a marketing plan is identifying your competition. And with this piece, some questions you can ask yourself about your competition is, do they have a strong social media presence? If that's an area that you are focused on as well. And even though your products may be similar, how can you ensure that your branding is unique to help your company stand out? And the last overall piece is delegating. Who's responsible for each aspect of your plan? This will help you run your team efficiently. And so now we're going to go through a worked example together about this question that we mentioned earlier during the interview process that may come up, which is, tell me about a strategic marketing plan that you developed and the result of its implementation. And so for this example here, we're focusing on Sakura. This is a wellness, holistic health company. And so when we're going through the key pieces here, identifying the company's mission. This is taken directly from their website. It says Sakura is on a mission to change lives through the power of food as medicine. And so now if we're going through the slide that we just went through and we're going through those key steps, tracking progress. So Sakura wants to increase their user engagement on Instagram. And before we're able to do this, we first need to understand what research is necessary before developing this plan. So first and foremost, we're going to need to know what their current user engagement is and where they'd like it to be. For this example, Sakura's user engagement is currently at 0.5%, and they'd like it to be at 2%. And just as a side note, most companies have a user engagement of less than 1%. So 2% is a pretty lofty goal, I suppose you could say. And so the marketing strategy that we're going to implement to meet Sakura's goal is Wellness Wednesdays, which is going to include feature a better for you recipe every single week, such as a healthy take on a sweet treat or things of that nature. And the way we're going to track this, our KPI, is the number of likes and comments on these posts. And based on our calculations, Sakura's post should be getting around 800 likes for this campaign to be successful. And so the next key piece here that I touched on earlier is identifying your audience. So for Sakura, here's kind of their key target demographic. We're speaking mainly to women between the ages of 18 and 40 who are looking to make better lifestyle choices. They conduct a lot of research prior to purchasing and are looking for trustworthy brands with integrity in the sourcing of their products. Next, content creation and implementation. Answering the questions that we brought up earlier, the type of content we're creating is healthy recipes for our Wellness Wednesdays. This is going to be weekly content, and we're distributing it through Instagram. And the key piece here is making sure that you don't forget the last portion of this question, which was the results of your implementation. So what was the outcome? That's a really key piece to stress to recruiters in an interview. What actually happened from all of your hard work? And so in this scenario, we determined that since implementing Wellness Wednesdays, Sakura's user engagement has increased by 0.75%, which creates a total engagement of 1.25% now. So that's a pretty substantial increase. And while that didn't hit their target of 2%, it served as a proof of concept. And Sakura has decided to keep Wellness Wednesdays as a regular occurrence on their social media channels. So that's a super exciting thing that you can share with recruiters. And so now, for those of you at home watching this presentation through, try looking over this exercise and going through it with a company you're interested in. Where do you see room for improvement within the company? What's one marketing strategy you would encourage them to implement? And what are some KPIs to that will help you track the success of this plan that you're implementing?
All right, so to wrap this up, we're going to go over some resources. So on-campus organizations, helpful websites, and different resources for honing your marketing skills. So first off, I'm going to talk about some clubs and organizations on campus that you can participate in if you're interested in a career in marketing. So starting off with some marketing specific organizations, you have Pi Sigma Epsilon, which is a marketing fraternity. They normally recruit in the fall and spring, and their recruitment consists of 3 events and then a round of interviews. There's also the Bruin Advertising and Marketing Team, which is basically a student-run advertising agency, and they compete nationally as well, and you apply in the fall for that. The Undergraduate Communication Association deals more with careers in media and communications if you're someone that's interested in that, and they also hold marketing focus groups. Additionally, there is the UBS Public Relations Committee, who manages UBS's different media streams and relationships with current students and sponsors. So if you're interested in either public relations or social media, this might be a good committee to join. Applications open in the fall. And of course, BWIB's Marketing Committee, which is us, and we will be doing projects in the fall as well. So join our committee if you're interested in learning more about that. In addition to these marketing specific organizations, a lot of different creative clubs on campus also have marketing committees. For example, FAST, if you're interested in fashion, you can join that. UCLA Radio for music, and then CEC has both public relations and online marketing departments. And lastly on here, I included some entrepreneurship clubs as well. So Sigma Eta Pi is an entrepreneurship fraternity, and then there's also Bruin Entrepreneurs and Creative Labs, which has different projects every quarter. And then here are some resources for if you want to learn more about a career in marketing or develop some skills that would be helpful for a career in this field. So Intern Queen, Media Bistro, Creative Mornings, and of course, Handshake and LinkedIn are great resources for finding internships and jobs. You can use these for job searches in general, or you can make them marketing specific as well. HubSpot, the Content Marketing Institute, and Morning Brew are really great informational resources. So if you want to kind of read more about key industry terms or industry trends, these are great places to start looking. And if you're interested in picking up some technical skills, Google Analytics Academy can teach you how to analyze basic reports, track campaigns, and set up goals. Moz SEO Learning Center is a great place to learn search engine optimization. And Photoshop Cafe has some tutorial videos for beginners in Photoshop if you're interested in the graphic design aspect of marketing. So building off of that, now is a perfect time for picking up some new skills if you have extra time on your hands. There's a lot of programs online where you can earn certifications, and these are hard skills that can come in handy for a lot of job positions that you might be considering, and it also looks really good on your resume as well. So you can earn certifications through Google Analytics, Google Ads, Salesforce, and Hootsuite, just to name a few. If you're interested in learning more about social media marketing, again, this is a pretty relevant and fast-growing field. You can check out YouTube Creator Academy. The social media podcast with Michael Stelzner is also a great resource. And you can also look up content calendar templates. So content calendar templates are kind of a way for organizing your posts on social media, so you can start to play around with those if you'd like. And lastly, if you're interested in design, Canva and Figma are pretty good for beginners in graphic design. You can just go on YouTube and search up videos for those, and obviously Adobe Photoshop, if you have it, works great as well.
That concludes our presentation. Thank you for tuning in. If you have any questions or haven't received the link to this presentation from the BWIB email, feel free to contact the email address for BWIB exec and they can send you those links. Hope you guys have a great rest of your week 5.